Hello, welcome back to Awareness Mastery, module number 2 in the course Master Your Mind. Let's get right into it. So, in the last lesson, we discussed what awareness is, and I've shown you that you can't be unaware. It's an impossibility. So let's move forward knowing this. But now we're going to take apart what I call the fractal, or the 333 model, as you see here on the screen. The topic number 2 is the levels of awareness. Now, because we now have been introduced to this awareness, let's take it apart, because maybe you're starting to see how fundamental or how important it is. Fun to mental. Let's call it fundamental or fun to mental. So now you can turn your mental experience into a fun experience instead of being that claustrophobic previous version we were talking about. Okay, so if you've chosen to make that shift into what I've shown you, then I applaud you, and I respect your willingness to evolve. So here's the 333 model. Okay, the 333 model, in this short mini course, I'm not going to go into it as in depth as I do in the 8 levels of mind and in the missing link, the 2 courses that I have available. But we're gonna touch on what applies to just being introduced to the levels of awareness. To awareness, and then I'm gonna show you why the levels of awareness are important. But let's just do a summary in the fact that there's 3 levels of existence, there's 3 levels of experience, and there's 3 levels of awareness. Like I said, I break it all down in the main course, but in this mini course, I'm going to share with you what I think is applicable. Okay, so here we go. The 333 model, you have the inner, outer, and source. Each one of these is a fractal of 3. This is why it's called the 333 model, which synchronicity wise, I've had so many synchronicities with the 333 number that I had to use it in basically everything I can. So inner, outer, source. There's my alarm again. See, I told you, I'm not lying to you. I practice what I teach. So let me just shut this off. Sorry about that. Yeah, let's power it off because it's going to go. So the 333 model, and that was the alarm again to remind me of what I am, which is awareness. So it becomes a practice to ironically be what we already are. But here we go. Inner, outer, source. The source of everything is what I refer to as the all. The way that shows up, and this is just in the model, the way of being able to show it to you guys or to anyone who's interested, is the all is what is aware of the outer experience and the inner. It is what we would call in the other lesson the control room, right? Control center. That is what we call, that right there is beyond words. In our experience, we don't really have words to depict. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you don't have words to talk about something that's an experience for you, rest assured that's in something that is beyond language. That's why you don't have the words for it. So the body, which is, we got mind, body, and spirit. The all is the spirit, okay? The body gives us what we call me. It is the outer facing awareness. It is what says that I am something experiencing something else because of this individualization of being the body, okay? And it says me. Even though it says it in our mind, it seems as if it's separate. This is what we're looking at here is the unification of a trifecta. So the me is what we experience when we talk or believe in being the body. I am just this body. And then the me shows up. But when you were born, your name, which is part of the me, it wasn't stamped on your body. It wasn't tattooed on your body, right? So the body doesn't know the name. It doesn't have a name. Now we go on to the next thing, which is the I, which I introduced you to earlier. That is our inner experience. Everything in our mentality we experience as I, okay? That's the inner. But again, source or all, or that thing that's beyond words, is always experiencing the outer and the inner simultaneously. So what is this right here? This is why I refer to it as spirit. It is likened to the wheel that is sped up so fast in revolutions that it actually disappears. We can't see it anymore. This is what spirit is. It's the highest vibration, okay? Okay, so 3 levels of awareness. We have outside, which we process from images of light reflection. Our eyes, our optic nerve actually sees things backwards in reverse or upside down. And then our optic nerve, our brain computes that information, and that's what we experience from what we can perceive through our eyes. Inside is the body, meaning the seemingly separate point of attention in the universe. That I, me, right? So it's I first in the mind, and then me through the body. And then imagination is the self-image that's attached to the body. Because when you are seemingly existing through your self-image outwardly, you're not existing according to the dimensions or the biological makeup of your organs and all that. It's the self-image is an idea that doesn't take into consideration exactly what's here taking up this space, right? Okay, so that's what I mean by imagination. We imagine that we're this character with this self-image that we've created, and that's possible through the body level of awareness. Then we have the all one source, aware of the inner and outer, which is non-conceptualized, meaning it is beyond anything that our mind or the I can state it is. It is still just a belief system that is dependent on the awareness or the spirit or the all. Excuse me. The 333 model is a representation of a fractal in that it keeps repeating its teaching points in groups of three, as I just briefly explained. Each level that we look into of this model will open up to show you its entirety shown in its fragment. Everything teaches in groups of three. There are 3 levels of existence, as well as 3 levels of experience, and finally 3 levels of awareness. These are all explained in my full course, The 8 Levels of Mind, as I explained, available in the community. But for now, I will explain the awareness aspect using the full model. We will go into detail of this aspects of this model, as well as the application it provides for the knower or user of this way of perception. This is offering you a whole new way of perception. Okay, that's what my goal is for this course. Simultaneously, we're experiencing our inner level experience in what we're thinking, feeling, and believing. You also may feel a headache or a stomach ache or feel tired from the inner sensing or the inner portion of awareness. Or, on the contrary, you may feel your body and mind humming as your adrenaline is coursing through your physical, creating all types of inner sensations. These are all an inner experience. Now, the third aspect of experience is by far the most subtle and perhaps not known by most beings. It is that which is aware of both the inner and outer experiences. Plain and simple in its definition, but a life changer if really deeply understood. This is, again, I applaud you if you've already understood the implications or the ramifications this can have in your moment-to-moment reality. But I am indeed talking about awareness here when I'm talking about the last aspect, where everything takes place on a screen. And I mean everything. I'm talking about awareness, which is the field that gives us the ability to be cognitive and conscious. Without awareness, no experience is possible. Can you see the implications of living a life without knowing your own knowing and knowing that now you know how you're knowing? Should I say that again? No, it's enough of a tongue twister. Awareness is a field of potential that everything appears on and in. We will get deeper into the 3 levels of awareness next, but for now, just know that it is indeed the function of the entire universe as it's micro to macro, meaning a mirror, in that awareness is infinite, just as our universe is infinitely expanding. Okay? This is the formula of the universe, which is expansion and contraction. And that's what we experience as emotions. They're expansions and contractions. So we are literally a mirror image of what the universe is doing on a whole. I'm now going to tie all of this information together by breaking open the fractal of awareness and showing each level that exists and how we form beliefs around these experiences. The 3 levels of awareness are I, me, and all. I've already briefly explained. I want you to think of the me level of awareness as images and sense perceptions. We are aware of everything we see and hear and also sense with our extrasensory abilities, but how this outer me level really affects us is by the knowing or perceiving out from our physical body and our eyes mostly. Because of this, we identify this aspect of our outflowing awareness that reports back to our senses. Are you understanding what I'm saying? It's not a science lesson. It's just understanding that because of the me idea, we'll call it an idea at this point. I know that I'm a subject in an object experience. I am the subject of all the objects around me. That's basically what it's saying. So just like when we broke down the levels of experience in the full course and showed how they coincide with an aspect of existence, which, like I said, is available in the full course, we're going to do the same with awareness. Awareness in its most diluted form is what the physical body and mental image provide. This is the me awareness, or the subject that seems to be experiencing all other aspects of experience. We are identified as the mental idea and its individual existence as our names, races, genders, geographical locations, and so on. That's the me. It's a psychological identity that changes so often and will change again until you decide that you don't want to live according to your mental ideas of self, which is what this course will help you deconstruct and then recreate something new at a higher level of authenticity. That's what this course is designed to do. So if that resonates with you, then please pay attention. Just like when we broke down, sure, this me is like a shield that is being held out in front of a deeper level of awareness and is innocently subjecting the idea of ourselves to its environments and inner realities as a believed in single entity. It is the culmination of our beliefs and experiences that the power of memory gives us. Memory is a power, and currently the majority of people are being used by that power. It is indeed a power to have memory, and powers come with great responsibilities. We learned that from our superhero cartoons as kids. Well, we're not using our best self-control and understanding when it comes to memory. Okay, it's almost like an implied thing. Oh, memory comes, then I'm a slave to it. Memory comes, I'm a slave to it. We're gonna shift that. All right. So the me cannot exist without the idea of a past or future. Let's see that in instant replay. The me cannot exist without an idea of past or future. So if you're at a certain level of understanding, maybe you are, maybe you're not, but if you've gotten to the point where you understand that clocks and calendars were something that was created by human beings, therefore it's one of those all that's beyond words, the truth of what time really is, then I want to share that with you, that the me, the idea of yourself, cannot exist without the stories, without your history. All right. And the majority of people, because of the way society is trained in our consciousness, is stuck in a negative image or a negative identity. And if you don't think that's true, or maybe you do know it's true, but if you don't think it's true, then just look at what people are doing, trying to fill the void. Okay. It's evident that the majority of people are buying into the agendas of the people who want to sell merchandise, and therefore are selling you lack first. They're selling you or hypnotizing you into believing that you're lacking something first. So in the truth of now, if you've gotten there or not, meaning the infinite moment, it cannot exist except as a feeling of being separate from your environment, because of the physical body level of existence that is a constant. It is indeed a constant that you are a separate entity, but you're being shown a new perspective that you can merge back with source, just like you did when you were a child before you learned to filter out everything. You ultimately and fundamentally are not the stories of your past that your memory convinces you exist in the here and now, that it's just a habit currently. It's just a habit. Have you quit habits before? You probably have. So if you have, this is just another habit that's causing you a lot of suffering. It is the culmination of our beliefs and experiences that the power of memory gives us, right? So you ultimately and fundamentally are not the stories of your past that your memory convinces you exist in the here and now, because the only place they exist is in here, not in the here and now, unless you say and believe and log into that program. The next level of awareness is the I, and this is that which within you never changes, feels like a constant, unbroken existence. Have you ever had moments where you just appreciate just being, just existing, without any type of mental checklist, without any type of to-do list, any type of ambition, none of that? If you have, then that is your true self. Just so you know, that is the I, the unbroken, unchanging, the one thing in our dimension, in our world, that defies the law of change, that is untouched by the law of change, is your being, what has been called the stillness of mind, the prana, Atman, Satori. These are all words invented by human level of consciousness to depict something that is beyond language. But the very fact is, everything starts and emanates from a source. The source of you is indeed the I. But I'm going to break this down why it's hard for most of us to just exist as the I. Okay, so it is indeed the constant, here I'm going to highlight this, constant unbroken existence. Excuse me. You may have just been reintroduced to your I, except when you use it in your speech, but weren't aware of its true meaning. If you sit and think about it or feel and intuit the very fact that you can identify as me indicates that you're aware of something that allows the me. Remember, the me is appearing on the screen as well. This is the I level of awareness. Drum roll, please. The I has been wrongly associated with the ego in a negative light, and this is because before we invented mental characters that we use to manipulate others and survive, we were existing beyond ego or identity, and were disciplined or stifled when we were with our disciplinarians and existing from this I pure level. This is why it feels uncomfortable to exist as this, because we were taught and it was ingrained into our mind, meaning our brain synapses, meaning making machine, and also the circuitry of our nervous system, that when we expressed our natural energies from source, we were disciplined. Let's see that in instant replay. We were disciplined for just being true to ourselves. So no wonder the majority of us that has experienced this type of discipline systems, and majority of institutions when we were younger as well, use the same tactics. We learn to suppress our natural essential selves, or the I, because of fear of discipline. Okay, so when we experience that as adults, or when we start to break through and the storm clouds start to, dissipate, we feel too egoic. We feel out of control. And that's because we were little by little systematically made to fit into a structured idea of society when we were born as consciousness, which to this structured society, consciousness is wild. That's what I want you to understand. So here we go. So over time, we believed that this essential state of mind or nature would attract pain, which we learned through being disciplined just for staying true to the I. When we become aware that the me that is created from the I hope I'm not confusing you or losing you. There's a lot of practices we can do in the community, and I do in my courses, that will introduce you even more to this I and help you stay there, in quotation, stay there, when you realize that it's already you all the time. The energies needed to keep the me alive and safe are draining us. This is what we know as suffering. Then we need to re-identify in our minds where we want to keep our attention, therefore changing our level of consciousness and getting to the point where we are embodying Einstein's quote. I think I shared it with you earlier. You cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. We have to evolve our consciousness, which is why it's not happening more in the collective, even though we are in a great awakening right now. We have to elevate our consciousness until when we look back at our problems, they look like nothing they used to be, because we have now elevated our consciousness. When you start to reunite with the I, you may start to feel arrogant or out of control. And like I said, because you've been living identified as the me, and its boundary were subtly sustaining its food source of attention and validation. That's very important. We tried to get back to the wholeness of the I, but what we invented were subtle ways to steal, quote unquote, in the form of attention and validation. We became beggars for attention and validation when we were sitting on the source. And the source is I. When you say I, feel that completeness. I, period. Not even I am this, I am that. Let's just I, period. It feels, when you start to do that in a practice, you start to see like, oh my God, it's so powerful, but that power scares us. It's the quintessential, most people aren't afraid of their darkness, they're afraid of their light. This is where it starts in the discipline cycles of children, where we're learning our worldviews and we're learning to mold the way that we want to interact with this dimension. So it's very important that we rediscover our I, but then we purify our I, because there was nothing wrong with us for wanting to share our bliss with our parents, our relatives, our school teachers, whoever it is. These people were not on the level that the child is. The child is on a higher level spiritually, awareness wise. In actuality, we've packed so much crap into our systems that they're actually closer to source or essential nature than we are. And the whole goal of the game is to purify your I to the point where you can be that silent scream, where you can be that wealth of power without the ego wanting you to do crazy things with it. We have to step back into our power and learn how to, which that's another thing I go through in the full course. I teach people how to not, it's the tipping point. I teach people how to not go back subtly into the ego again, because we've destroyed old belief systems and we feel empowered. Most people that have been oppressed, when they get empowered, they will not stop at the balance point. They will end up doing the oppressing. They'll become the oppressor, just like the Stanford experiment in psychology. People who weren't even like that ended up becoming the oppressors when they were put in certain roles and situations. So there's a hidden code in the energy of things, and we have to learn via the natural laws that I'm teaching, or just showing. I'm not teaching the laws. The laws are already there. I'm just shedding light on them. You know, the I is complete and it needs no validation or protection. This is why our authoritarians or guardians had to mind control us, and now we're suffering from that mind control, into believing in these limited identities so that we could be controlled in our homes and various institutions. Because just like when you have to break a horse, or you have to train your dog or your cat, whatever it is, cats not so much, but dogs, they're wild and they don't fit into the existing belief systems. That's the perfect analogy for where we started out. That's the antiquity part of authenticity. Let's figure out why our circuitry does what it does. Let's understand we have the ability to observe it until it loses momentum when we stop reinforcing that habit. Okay? I'll see you in the next video.